Hey everyone, it's me, Master Walrus 9, and here I was prompted up by a TikTok I was shared by one of my friends. Could Ash Ketchum stop 9/11? Okay. I think in the TikTok he said sure, but this got me thinking about what's the realistic scenarios that would potentially happen. So first off, let's assume 9/11 is happening. Ash gets a call from his uncle who's in the government of sorts. He gets the information lickety split. As soon as the planes have lifted off in the air, they figure out what's happening, right? We're gonna ask two questions. First, could Ash's party stop the planes? Second, could Ash's party keep everyone alive? We're looking more than just destroying the planes and saving the towers in the Pentagon. What we want is to save the passengers on the planes as well. So, let's take a look at some information. For some approximations, we have around a range of 17 minutes to 43 minutes that the planes range from. Ash would know that 4 planes have been hijacked. He would not know where they would be hijacked, and he would not know which plane was in the hijacking for how long. He can make some estimations based off of context clues, like seeing them hit the first tower, going for the first tower. He could pick out the second tower, yada yada yada. First, we're going to look at his team he had during 9/11. Then we're going to consider any potential team, and finally we're going to draft an ideal team. So, in Master Quest, the Japanese version, because that was technically the first one, Mantine Overboard was the episode of September 6th, the episode before 9/11. Now, in this episode, the proposed team of Ash is Pikachu, Totodile, Bayleaf, Cyndaquil, Noctowl, and Bulbasaur. Going forward with this idea, keep in mind, the commercial planes are flying around 550 to 600 miles per hour. The commercial plays at least 30k feet in the air. You have 17 to 43 minutes to stop the plane fully. You gotta kill the terrorists, repilot the aircraft, or kill the terrorist and physically move the train. Oh, can't speak today. So, with this in mind, can this team do it? God, no, please. Okay, you're looking at a Bulbasaur, a Bayleaf, a Cyndaquil, a Totodile, a Pikachu, and a Noctowl. Think about this for a second. There's no way they're going to reach the plane. I don't think Noctowls can fly that high, reach the altitude. Second off, say that a Noctowl can reach that altitude. There's no way it's flying fast enough to reach the planes. Third, if it can, what's the Noctowl going to do? Maybe it claws at the terrorists, right? Nothing's gonna really happen. Best case scenario, Bulbasaur or Bayleaf, more likely Bulbasaur because it's smaller, is carried by Noctowl. They somehow take out the terrorists, and Bulbasaur manages to fly and steer the plane with his vinyl attack. This is so unrealistic, it makes no sense. So, if you're comparing their team from when 9/11 happened, that's the end result. So what should we consider a goal or a need for the team? First, we want flying Pokemon or teleporters. Pokemon that can teleport can get into the plane, take out the terrorists, fly the plane down. These tend to be smart, human-sized Pokemon. Think Mr. Mime, think Mewtwo, think Gardevoir. Alright, now, if you're flying a Pokemon, you need the speed to reach the plane. You need to be able to take out the terrorists without harming the passengers, and then you need to be able to steer the plane. Finally, you need enough cognitive knowledge to fly the plane, or enough strength to manipulate the plane, right? So, not saying that anyone can go out and fly a plane, but I feel like enough instructions in this fictional scenario, certain Pokemon will be able to do it. Like again, Gardevoir or Mewtwo or Alakazam. Teleportation, extremely smart, has the appendages. You think of Misty Slowpoke though, that's like the opposite. No cognitive capabilities, no appendages, no way to even get to the plane. So when I consider all of these, one person comes to mind. Dragonite. Okay? Here's some lists of its dex entries from over the years. Okay, you're gonna notice a fire red, and I'll point this out. It says it can circle the globe in just 16 hours. Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, 16 hours. X, 16 hours. Even as lately as Pokemon Violet, it circles the globe in 16 hours. This is information that is consistent over the generations, and it's relevant in this day and age because it's as recent as Violet. So, consider that the Earth has around 25,000 miles as a circumference. That's the amount that he would have to circle the Earth, and that would be just the bare Earth. That's not considering him going up in the air, right? With a rate of 16 hours, Dragonite's speed is supposedly 1556 miles per hour. This you're expecting is around a Mach 2. This is about 3 times the speed of the planes. So, if the planes are around 30k feet in the air, this is around 5.7 miles. Dragonite's gonna take about 13 seconds to go from ground level to the planes. Dragonite could potentially fight the terrorists, but I think it's more realistic for Dragonite to have someone else fight the terrorists while he works on slowing down the plane, right? He can take someone and have them fight them if it's a good enough team that we're considering, because now we're looking at a team that had Dragonite, right? Let's say it takes about 5 minutes to take out the terrorists and around 3 minutes to slow down the plane. Enough to get people down safely, like an emergency landing, but not too much time that you're wasting time. Okay? You're looking at about 8 to 10 minutes. And the pacing is right. He gets the 17-minute out of the way first, then the 30-minute, then another 30-minute, then the 40-minute. He theoretically could get this done. But what's the question on the partners? So in the team, he gets the Dragonite in the episode of Test of Paradise. I don't really care about his team at that time. Okay, we're gonna look at a team in which he had Dragonite, and arguably we're gonna look at his biggest and most important team, his championship winning team. You're looking at Pikachu, Lucario, Gengar, Dragonite, Sirfetch'd, and Dracovish. Okay, now what do I consider usable? I don't consider Pikachu usable because all of Pikachu's attacks are AoE. Thunder Shock, Fire Strike. The best move he's got is like Volt Tackle and Iron Tail. If Pikachu tries to attack the terrorist, he's obviously going to hurt some of the other people or ruin the structure of the plane. Lucario, and then that's not even considering the lack of hands. Lucario, Gengar, and Sirfetch'd I trust well enough to fight the terrorist without destroying them. Dracovish, ruthless beast, absolute monster. I'm not going to talk about his war crimes this time. Maybe someday. Anyways. Lucario, he's got the hands to be able to do it, plus the right size to measure. Sirfetch'd, like maybe get him a couple books, but I don't really trust him to fly a plane, but he could take out the terrorists. Gengar, he could fly the plane, but I don't trust him for a different set of reasons. Let me just look at him. The nice thing about Gengar, though, is that you don't have to open a hole in order to get into the plane. Gengar would be able to get into the plane without damaging the structure of the plane and putting passengers at risk. So what's the scenario? Dragonite takes Lucario, stops the first plane. Comes back, takes Sirfetch'd, gets the second. Brings Gengar, gets the third plane, and Dragonite will take the fourth plane with Gengar once more. Or if he wants to, he could try and settle it himself. He would in theory have enough time to do the landings and get going in order to stop 9/11. So we have just shown, theoretically, could it be done? Now, can we optimize it is the question. So to optimize it, we're going to replace Pikachu and we're going to replace Dracovish. Okay? So this is a team of any time. But we need to get more flyers going. See, the issue is that we have Dragonite being the only flyer, which means that you're losing out on the potential of hitting multiple targets at once. By getting free flyers, you're able to, in theory, get free planes at once and then you have one remaining plane. Okay, so we're gonna replace Pikachu for Charizard. He's a classic team member with good flying speed, high strength possibilities. And we're gonna replace Dracovish with Noivern. Again, same capabilities, not as strong, but the speed is so high, Noivern can definitely help out. Now, I would be more than happy replacing Surfetch with Sceptile. You can make a case for replacing Gengar with Infernape, but I think not destroying the plane to enter in is going to be very crucial. So, yeah, these are the three I would switch out. Now, if we're talking about this realistically, because that's an idealistic situation, we gotta consider one big thing. Ash is in Japan most of the time. Like, I guess in this series he would have been in Britain, but here's the big thing. Ash is in Japan. Like, the distance from New York to Japan is insane. This is nearly the other side of the world. Dragonite would have to go at least 4 hours to reach New York. Minimum 4 hours, looking at 4.5. By that time, 9/11 would have happened. Then, the other thing we failed to consider into the initial scenario was, could Dragonite actually spot the planes? It's the only thing in the air, but at a high distance, it's going to be nearly hard to see. So there's going to have to be time spent trying to find the planes. Dragonite doesn't have that GPS built in. Now, if he was in Unova at the time, that's more realistic because Unova is the in-game equivalent to New York. However, it would make it tougher for him to stop the attacks because he doesn't have those members. You're looking at some weaker birds like maybe Pidgeot, maybe no, you don't have Talonflame on Pheasant, I guess. So when we asked the question, could Ash stop 9/11? Ideally, yeah. Realistically, no. Alright, my friends, that's just a video I saw on TikTok that I decided to go way farther and beyond with. If you have any concepts for videos, please let me know. As always, stay sloppy.